Hello again, Onky Zonks. You've all heard of the Trump derangement syndrome, haven't you? It's where people have illogical hatred of Donald Trump for some reason because of what they've heard in the mainstream media. And it's the same with Tommy Robinson, I think. There's a Tommy derangement syndrome. A good example of Trump derangement syndrome is Robert De Niro and his ramblings, and Mark Hamill. If you look at what they say, or Mark Hamill on Twitter and Robert De Niro and his stupid speeches to the press, you'll see what I mean. I mean, the people are just, it's just hatred, no logic, no purpose, no frame of mind to understand another point of view. And it's the same with Tommy Robinson, of course. There are people who hate him and they won't even sit down and talk to him. George Galloway made a video about him the other day. It was pretty crappy and very derangement syndrome-y like, all because he supports Israel. And yet he's blocked him on Twitter. People don't sit down and talk to the guy. Now, that march on Saturday, I was there, and it was a great atmosphere. It was almost like a party atmosphere. All right, there were a few people chanting things that didn't need to be chanted, which kind of slightly marred the whole march, but didn't bring anyone down. There was no trouble, nothing whatsoever. And everyone went home peacefully. We left Parliament Square spick and span, no rubbish. No rioting, no shops broken into or looted, nobody hurt. It was a great time, so great in fact. I'm definitely going to the next one on the 27th of July. I hope to see you there. Now, the purpose of the march wasn't hatred, it wasn't to pick on a demographic, it wasn't to cause violence, it wasn't even to cause the police any bother. It really wasn't, and fair play to the police. They didn't goad us either, even though they were stood there in their coveralls ready. All they needed were their helmets, shields and batons, and they were away. They weren't dressed in their usual attire, they were dressed ready to go. But they didn't goad us and they didn't kettle us, everything just went without a hitch. It was just great. That's what we wanted. But Sir Mark Rowley, the target of this march, because he has implemented a two-tier policing system, I suspect, under the orders of Sadiq Khan, the useless London mayor, whom bafflingly has been re-elected recently. I mean, Londoners, you get what you deserve, honestly. That was the target of the whole march. There were no terrorist flags, there were no swastikas, people weren't goose-stepping around wearing a silly little moustache with that salute, like John Cleese. It was nothing. And yet Sir Mark Rowley, the head of the Met Police Commissioner, in a meeting recently on video, called it a far-right march. Far right. What is far right? The guy is utterly clueless. This is another guy. He either has Tommy derangement syndrome, or he's desperate to keep his job to please Sadiq Khan. Either way, the guy has absolutely no backbone. He is an amoeba. He has no bones in him whatsoever. A cowardly, cowardly son of a bitch who shouldn't be in that job. And yet, in that same meeting, he described the Free Plasticine pro-Hamas marches as peaceful. Officers were hurt during those marches. Those marches had terrorist flags. They were shouting hateful slogans, racist slogans against the Jews, against Israel. Those marches gave the Met Police far more problems than the Tommy March on Saturday. And I don't think he was happy with that. I think he'd have loved it if we kicked off. He'd have loved it. Look what they did. But we didn't give them cause to. And the football hooligans who were there and coming to the next one, please take heed. It's what they want you to do. They want you to chant things that needn't be chanted. They want you to kick off. They want you to be lewd and rude. They want you to make the march look bad, so you're just giving them ammunition. Bear that in mind if any of you are watching. So there we go. I'm not calling you anti-patriotic. I'm just asking you all to think of the greater good. So Sir Mark Rowley called the march far right. And yet I saw with my own eyes people there who don't fit the description of far right at all. There were Sikhs, there were Hindus, there were families of blacks, there were Middle Eastern families, there were members of the LGBT community there, all there together for a common cause to get this idiot out, because he's implementing a form of policing that is anti-freedom and anti-democratic, and it's got to be unlawful. That's why we were there. There were no jackbooted Nazis there. There was no one there that fitted the description of far right, in my opinion. Then again, far right is just a buzzword, isn't it? If the left don't like you, if the woke establishment don't like what you're saying, they don't like the cut of your jib, then you are far right. Go figure. And this is why we want Mark Rowley out, because he's got no backbone. He really hasn't. A cowardly man, not even a man. Britain's top copper. And yet he looks like a dweeb. He's not got a very manly shape to him at all. He's just like a weed, isn't he? He's a weedy man. A weedy little man with too much power, and who will implement a crappy way of policing to keep his job, to please an even more cowardly individual in Sadiq Khan. And that's the truth. So there we go. It wasn't a far right march. And Mark Rowley's talking out of his hat, to quote a Welsh term. He really is. Cowardly, absolutely cowardly. And I suspect at the next march on the 27th of July, things may ramp up, because they didn't get what they want. They wanted to kick off, so they'll probably be a bit more aggressive in their tactics next time to prove themselves right. That's what they want. It's the same with Ramonas, isn't it? They want Britain to do badly. They want people to suffer just so they're proven right that it was wrong to leave the EU. Well, they were wrong, weren't they? Eh? And there's nothing they can do about it. Anyway, there we go. That's my video. Thanks for watching. I'm past 49. Until next time, Roger Trout. Never salute with the left hand. You can do that to the, who are they? The pensioners, Chelsea pensioners. You can salute them with the left hand apparently, but there we go. Laters.